Sofia, this beautiful city. Bulgaria's experience in turning 45 years of communist rule into democracy is indeed a valuable learning experience for all of us. I should therefore like to start by congratulating the organizers and especially our host, Minister Mladenov, for bringing us here to Sofia. And I would like to congratulate you with your 39th birthday today. You were born in 1972, and if you think about it, from 1972 till this year, it's 39 years, but it is as if we have lived for 150 years. So many things have happened. The upheaval in Central and Eastern Europe and the communist bloc, the globalization of the economy, the rise of new powers, China, India, Brazil, South Africa, all this changing the power structure of the world, and now the upheaval in the Mediterranean and all over the Middle East. It's unbelievable, and for me it is really moving moment to see young people going to the streets fighting for the universal rights that we have achieved here in Europe, and see once again that these values cannot be avoided nowhere on the globe. So it is really a moving moment to be together with those people that went to the streets in so many countries in the Mediterranean and in the Middle East recently. I would like to contribute 3 words here today, which is humility, caution, and consistency. Let me start with humility. Few people, if any, have predicted or expected that what happened in the South Mediterranean and in North Africa would happen, when it happened, where it happened, and as it happened. I'm often reminded of the words of reply that Shimon Peres, he was visiting the Norwegian Parliament many years back, and he was asked by one of the members of the Foreign Affairs Committee what would happen in the Middle East. And then he said, "My dear friend, this is a very difficult question. Look at the brilliant experts, journalists, professors, authors, who assembled mountains of knowledge about the subject of Soviet Union and communism. There were Sovietologists, Kremlinologists. They wrote brilliant books about what happened inside Kremlin, and they predicted that this system would survive another 100 years. But nobody were able to see that the Berlin Wall fell down. So one could make the conclusion that all these experts, they didn't know that those who were inside Kremlin, they were not as brilliant as themselves. Because those who were inside Kremlin, they didn't understand what was going on around them in the world. They were not able to connect to the technological revolution that took place. And all of a sudden, people went up on the Berlin Wall and it came down. Nobody were able to see it. And it's the same thing that is happening in the Middle East today. In the Middle East, authoritarian regimes could create temporary stability, but this could never be the basis for real peace and prosperity. And as we now see, this situation could not last forever, but we did not expect it to happen. And one can say that we in the West did the same mistake as all the experts that were trying to tell us what was going on inside Kremlin. History shows once again that lack of freedom of expression and other human rights and fundamental freedoms is an obstacle to social and economic development, to peace and stability. And at the end of the day, people takes history in its own hands, as it happened when the Berlin Wall came down and as it happens today in the South Mediterranean. The experience of democratic transition in Central and Eastern Europe can provide a wealth of very interesting and valuable lessons, but we must take into account not only similarities, but also political, economic, social, institutional and cultural differences which exist between the two situations. These differences cannot affect the ultimate objectives, the respect for universal rights and values, democracy, human rights and the rule of law. But they have implications on how these objectives can and should most appropriately and effectively be pursued. And this brings me to my second point, that we have to be cautious. The violence which is engulfing in Libya and the dramatic situation in several other countries shows how volatile and dangerous the situation is. The danger is that the most well-organized groups will hijack the revolutions as they did in Iran. And by the way, as they did in the Soviet, when the Russian Revolution took place in 1917. It was a social revolution in the first place, but the communists hijacked the whole social revolution. A small group of people took it over. And this happens again and again, so we have to be cautious. We should therefore support the development of a system of governance based on accountability, free elections and human rights. The key